Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Dr. Bird. I love Nashville, Tennessee, too. I love driving from Memphis, 187 miles, and come up here and being part of this city. It's fantastic and a fantastic place. I want to thank everybody, Dr. Singer and the board of ODK. I want to thank you for allowing me to come and speak because I had a chance to speak in Grand Rapids and talk about something that's really dear to my heart and what we do. Now, I have a video that we wanted to show you to kind of start it, and then I'll kind of get in. So I think we'd like to show the video now. You get a sense of what we're doing down here at University of Memphis. We put the video together to highlight our student athletes. And so what I want to talk about today, because I'm among students and student athletes, as we always do, talk about what we do about building cultures of champions and what I've done my whole life. I began in athletics, as you can imagine, in a different career. I started out, I was going to be a Catholic priest. I studied for the priesthood at the University of Notre Dame. I left 7.5 years in and started my career in coaching and teaching and becoming part of a transformational process that takes place in all that we do. And what I wanted to talk about today is just give a kind of a brief synopsis, because everybody in ODK is committed to leadership. And everybody in ODK believes in the 5 pillars. And one of our pillars is athletics. And leadership in athletics is critical, but I believe there are things that we do in athletics leadership that transfer to anything, any walk of life, any profession, anything you do daily. Because they're intrinsic values that are about being a leader. Not a follower, not a pretender, but a leader. A man or a woman that stands and does the right thing, that does the hard things, that does the tremendous things that take place. In our society, there are always challenges that take place, and I have always been built on 2 very, very fundamental things. The first being that I'm the most unimportant person by myself, meaning that it is not about me and my ability to lead. It's not about my title or my telling people I'm in charge. It's about the fact that I am the most unimportant person by myself. And if I start my leadership drive and my premise with that, then I can change the day, I can change the week, I can change the culture, I can build a culture of champions. Wherever I've been, it started at De La Salle High School. You've heard about De La Salle High School. I was the athletic director there 9 years. The movie, The Game Stands Tall, we were there. We won 155 football games in a row. That's 13 years of never getting beat, ever getting beat. That's a culture that takes place with a premise that says, I am the most unimportant person by myself. I am surrounded by people that matter, and they matter to me because they let me lead others together. And the second premise I live my life by, and I tell you this because it's the most important thing you can learn as a young leader, getting to become put in a world where there's a big sea of knuckleheads and a real small bucket of really good leaders. And that's our society today. And the second premise is that you can't teach talent. You cannot make people more talented than they are, but you have the responsibility to be a leader, to find out what the talent is and let it grow, and to build it to you and bring it around you. And always bring people with more talent to be a part of what you do. Wherever I've been, De La Salle High School, the San Francisco 49ers, San Jose State, and now Memphis, I hire the most talented, go-getting, can't say no, and fear nothing people I can find, men and women. I've had 6 of my deputies are now Division I athletic directors in the country. The latest 2 weeks ago at the University of Buffalo, Mark Allnett. Yesterday, Mark Harlan, one of my deputies, just got named the AD at Utah. Why? Because in our business, in athletics, in all that we do in leadership, we are tied to 2 very good premises. 1, I'm the most unimportant person by myself. 2, I'm going to find talent. And 3, the thing that we teach everyone at University of Memphis, that we've taught everyone at San Jose State, that we started at De La Salle High School, goes like this. Nothing is impossible. Impossible is not a fact, it's opinion. And impossible is temporary. Think about that. Since the beginning of time, if you believe nothing is impossible, impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. And what was said to be impossible is temporary. You'll never land on the moon, can't fly, never have a car. 200 years ago, nobody thought any of that was possible. Because that's the thing in our world that detracts leaders from followers. If you build a culture of champions, the byproduct is winning. A culture of pretenders, and the byproduct is losing. And how do we pretend? So I have 377 student athletes that I'm responsible for right now with the ages of 18 and 23. And they're not my children. Understand that. I have a society that I run of student athletes who are trying very hard to compete at the highest level of amateur athletics. And we are a high-level amateur athletic program, as all of you in your schools do the same at whatever level you play at. I'm not the director of intramurals. We don't roll out the ball and say, go have fun. We don't give trophies to everybody. We get after it, we play hard, and we fight to win. And so in this dynamic, we create this culture that says, I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. We are responsible for each other. And I think the greatest challenge that we face in higher education, the greatest challenge that we face in our society, and the greatest detriment to being great and being a champion is the fact that we don't understand that we are responsible for each other, that other people matter, that we matter to each other in the way that we conduct our day, in the way that we say hello, in the more profound things of being on time, or as others have said, the more profound ways in which we share and pay it forward. So at University of Memphis, I got the job in 2012. And many of you may know this from when we talked 2 years ago, but I got there, they had a 62,000 seat stadium. We had 2,000 people, season ticket holders. We were the worst football team in the country. We had some of the worst situations possible, right? So we had to build a culture, because we had a culture that didn't understand what it meant, what the premises were meant. And so we started out by building the dynamic around leadership. And we asked young men and young women to step forward and lead each other, to be responsible for each other, to understand that each person matters, and that together they could be something incredible. But alone, they were the most unimportant people together. So we began to build forward. And the second thing we did that was really important is we distinguished between ducks and eagles. You know the difference between ducks and eagles? You can't send ducks to eagle school. You frustrate the eagles. You got to send ducks to duck school, and you send the eagles to eagle school. And all of a sudden, the world changes, because ducks like being around ducks. And eagles like flying with eagles. And all of a sudden the world in which you're building a culture begins to move forward. And by separation of the dynamic of who is an eagle and who is a duck, and who's going to be a great duck and who's going to be a greater eagle, begins to change the dynamic of what happens. At the University of Memphis, we never focus on the score. We never focus on whether we're going to win the game. We don't. We haven't. In the last 4 years, we won 37 football games and 4 bowl games in a row. We were ranked 9 weeks in the top 25, and we'll be ranked again. I've got 5 kids in the NFL in the last 2 years. In basketball, we just hired Penny Hardaway, and the world's a new world, and we'll see what happens with that. But in men's tennis, the young man you saw in front there, he's the first tennis player in 53 years at University of Memphis to play in the NCAA tournament as a single. And he got to a round of 8. Not because we focused on winning, because we focused on building a culture of leaders who focus on how to lead together in unity, how to have a common goal of what matters. Each of you will have a chance to lead somewhere in your life. Each of you will be given an opportunity to be a leader in what you do, and many of you may be leaders now. So as one leader to another, and I'm actually better at listening to leaders than telling about leadership, because I do believe there tends to be self-serving in some of this and not really what it's about, which is my ability to lead by my example. The one thing I never do as a leader, I never tell people I'm in charge. First of all, it could be a mistake, you might not be. Secondly, you don't want to tell people you're in charge. You want people to know that your example is charging us forward, and that what you do is not about your title, it's about what you do for others. Your greatest gift is what you do for other people, not what you do for yourself. And when you decide as a leader to lead by example, by doing that, you have actually said to all the people that have to lead with you, they will lead in unison towards a common goal. In college athletics, our biggest challenges right now are faced in the dynamic of money and television, and Division I and Division II and Division III has all the same parameters that we fight with all the time. The inability of the I that takes over the we, and the inability to create a culture that wins consistently. And the challenges and the pressures for us to win immediately are even greater as they go every day. I will tell you that in athletics, the greatest gift that we give each other is that we fear nothing. There used to be a saying, it wasn't mine, somebody else used to say it, mess with the best, lose like the rest. Great leaders, great champions show no fear. Doesn't mean you don't have anxiety, doesn't mean you're not afraid, doesn't mean you're not nervous, but you show no fear. Because being fearless is the ability to create change and calm and success and victory. So as we move through athletics and what we've done and what I've done in my career, whether it's been in the NFL or in other universities, and as I start my 16th year as an FBS Division I athletic director, it's amazing to me that we continue to have 2 common things that take place. There are those that try to take the shortcut and have no leadership and pretend and become a scandalous moment or a scandalous piece in our business. You've seen it a lot. And then there's those that do it right. And they continue to be the benchmarks and the hallmarks of amateur athletics in the United States. Amateur athletics in the United States is in jeopardy, there's no question. I'm sure many of you wonder what will happen with all that's going on. The current FBI investigations and all those. And in that moment has become moments of leadership that have taken place by student athletes, by coaches, by the NCAA and other ADs. And so you're seeing leadership continue to move forward in a great way. I think in looking at the pillars of what we do in ODK, and I'm honored to be a member of ODK. I think it's in fact, I was looking for some of my Memphian chapter members. Anybody from Memphis? There we are. Thank you. It's great to have you. Go Tigers, just saying. Just saying. And you got to learn to say that a lot. Go Tigers. Go Tigers. We're going to be really, really good. I'm just saying. I think what's interesting as we build forward in what we do and being asked to talk about it is to share with you that for me, being a leader is not a sometime thing. If you have the capacity to lead, it's got to be something you do all the day. You can't wake up at 8 and go, I'm going to lead today from 8 to 9:30, and I'll follow from 9:30 to 12. Then at 1:30, I'll lead a little bit, and then I'll let somebody lead at 2:30, and at 5 o'clock, I'm back done leading. That doesn't work, okay? If you're going to be a leader, be a leader. If you don't want to be a leader, be a duck. You know, we sit down with my student athletes and says, look, you're either a duck or an eagle, but we're not going to put them together. Great ducks make eagles fly really high. And great eagles keep the ducks protected from all that's around them that could hurt them. So at the end of the day, it's the eagle or the duck. And so if you're going to be a leader, be a leader. Take a chance. Stretch out. Sign up for things. Volunteer. Speak. Learn to speak. Learn to speak in public. Learn to speak in private. Learn to think collectively about how to make a difference every day. For those of you that are student athletes out here, I think it's fantastic that you're part of ODK as well. I wish I had more of my student athletes in ODK. I think it's a really important society that allows everyone to focus on the qualities that are going to make great impacts in our community. Listening to our vice president and her career and what she wants to do and become, and I'm just overwhelmed that we need 3,000 of you today to come in the United States and make a difference, because if all of a sudden everybody did this, our society would change and our world would change. I think for me, college athletics has been my platform to create and build leaders, young leaders. I have a lot of student athletes that I've been involved in the last 16 years. Many of them have gone on to do very, very incredible things that weren't part of athletics, who finished their careers as student athletes and went on to become great leaders in government, great leaders in medicine, great leaders in universities, great leaders in law, and always reflect back on what they learned in the skill sets that we teach. The 5 things that I think are really important to us that we teach student athletes, the first and foremost is the fact that they are their brother's keeper. But the other piece of it is that you are a student athlete. When I came to San Jose State, we started a process of making sure our student athletes graduated. And when I left after 9 years, our graduation rate was 92%. Today, at the University of Memphis, our athletic graduation rate's 90%. I've graduated every single student athlete that's been there. I could have graduated since 2012. Because being a student athlete is everything. It's not athlete-student. We didn't bring you here to be an athlete and then pretend to be a student. We brought you here to be a student, to be an athlete. Because the one thing that no one can ever take away from you is your education. You can blow your knee out and not be able to ski, or you can blow your shoulder out, or you can have an unbelievable thing happen to you physically and not longer be able to play as a student athlete, but you're still a student, and you'll always have that education. So from our standpoint, that's the second piece that's most valuable. The third piece is wearing our colors and fighting for our colors. When you put on Tiger Blue down in Memphis, Tennessee, it's on. It's on. We come after you all day. It's like you're taking food from our family. We will not give up. We will lay everything we have for our colors, for our community, for our society, for our culture of champions. And when you build this environment, every coming class of freshmen that comes in and we're recruited since 2012 now has been given the keys of what it means to be a Tiger. And so it becomes generational. When I was at De La Salle High School, after 13 years of not losing a football game, when we lost a football game, we had to have a day off of school, and we had to have massive therapy for 60 boys who had just gotten beat. The first guys to get beat after 155 wins in a row. Okay? And then they went on to win 40 more games. So to me, the dynamic at place here is this: once this championship culture is built, once it's established, it doesn't ever stop. It doesn't, because it perpetuates on the core values of what it means to be human, what it means to be a good man or woman, what it means to be a good representative of us as human beings, because it's about the care and concern of others that we do daily in building our culture. Throughout my career in the NFL, when we were in the NFL, guys were always about themselves, and those teams that were not about themselves wound up Super Bowl champions more than not. And when I was with the Niners, I was fortunate enough to see that happen, and that was an amazing, amazing run. And as it continues to do, those cultures who develop in athletics the ability to be greater good, self-centered, not self-indulgent, and focused on the things I said, most unimportant person by yourself, and the fact that you can't teach talent, you will in fact become a culture of champions. I think one of the things that and I'm trying to remember what I said in Grand Rapids because I had a lot more colorful statements then too. I was also on a stage walking back and forth, and I'll step off this one if I start walking around. The thing that catches me the most as I get in this group now, 2 years later, I see many familiar faces. There are many great men and women that are a part of this. And I would say to you that your greatest legacy now is who you can bring to ODK. Who can you continue to bring to this great organizational structure that teaches nothing but the right ways to lead, the right ways to be friends with other leaders. I think it's amazing. And I am honored to have been asked to speak to you guys today about leadership. I can tell you that in my limited career, there have been great leaders that I remember who I would imagine would have been great pillars for athletics in ODK. Moose Krause, who was a man that fought in World War II and was the AD at Notre Dame when I was there. Great guys that are around here. And I just heard today that at University of Kentucky's athletic director, Mitch Barnhart, my friend, is now an ODK initiate. That is awesome. Those are great, great stories for the future because the future is today. What I tell my student athletes, and I'll say this to you, is that you are the difference maker. I am halfway to 114. I am not going to be the difference maker that much longer. You are the difference maker. You are those that are going to change everything that takes place in the next decade or the 2 decades or 3 decades to come. You are the men and women who can make significant things better or greater or kinder. You are the things that make peace possible and make love a center of all things that should matter to other people. So I say to you, welcome to this challenge. Welcome to Leadership 101. Welcome to having to step up and be a leader. It's hard. I've had days I've made decisions where I'm like, this is not what I wanted to do. I've had days when I've had to deal with the media, the TV, the radio, other people, opinion, be the minority thought. Those are hard days when you're a leader. Those are days when you sit and go, I'm not sure I want to be this leader anymore. But I tell you, you are that person because you're here and you're part of ODK. So again, I'm here, I'm honored, I'm here to talk. I'll answer any questions anybody may have if they have. Dr. Singer, can I take questions? Okay, if anybody has a question for me, I'm happy to talk about anything in athletics that I can. And thank you. So God bless. Go Tigers. Anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
The Ducks and Eagles seem to be a real strong part of your culture. First time I had a chance to hear about it. How can we find out more about the characteristics that you integrate and obviously made
Sure. So how many people in here feel like you're an eagle? Come on, you know. How many people feel like you're a duck? I'm a duck. I'm a really big duck. So it's innate. It's a feeling. So so let's talk about 2 things. First of all, greatness is never found. So you're never going to find greatness, right? It's achieved. So greatness is never found. So start with that premise. You're never going to find greatness. You're never going to, oh, hey, there's greatness. Just found it. Let's put it on us. We're now great. It doesn't work like that. It's achieved. So once you understand how greatness is achieved, there are people that have already achieved greatness inside themselves. They've already achieved a sense of self-esteem, self-awareness, self-preservation of what is right and good, and can articulate that better than others. Those are eagles. Those are people we see in athletics who we want to stand in front. Athletics is a game, very few of my athletic competitions are single competitions, although track and field and golf and tennis and rifle and swimming and diving have individual opportunities. You still compete as a team. So for us to be able to come build the culture, you have to first determine who will be the eagles that lead the ducks into the battle. Then that's what we do, because we compete to win. When I say I'm not the director of intramurals, I mean I'm not director of intramurals. I don't care that we played the game. We're supposed to play the game. That's what we're here to do. You're a student athlete on scholarship, you're expected to play the game. It's about how we compete that matters to me. And how are you prepared to compete? Yes, sir. There are none. That's a good point. There are people that transform. That happens. I remember I had a baseball player at San Jose State as a freshman. He couldn't catch. I don't know why we gave him a scholarship, but I guess he could hit the ball pretty good. But he couldn't catch, couldn't throw, and then he winds up getting drafted his senior year and has been in Major League Baseball now for about 6 years. So there are moments that you go, well, I thought he was a Duck, and now he truly is an Eagle. So, yes, sir, in the back.
One of the things that I've been thinking about with ODK and the athletic pillar is they have schoolwork, and now on top of that, they've got all these games.
Yes.
What do you recommend in how to get them to engage and how to balance all this stuff? Now they on top of the schoolwork that we normally have,
Right.
they've got training.
Right. So the NCAA regulates that a student athlete's only allowed to practice 20 hours a week. And then the new CARA law, the NCAA passed, is allowed, student athletes are allowed a day off every week, a day of rest. And then at the end of season, they're allowed to have 10 days with no activity, no weight training, no postseason. So these are all new bylaws that we've put in place for this. Student athletes are highly organized human beings. And you have to be, just like you. All of you are highly organized. If you play an instrument, or you're involved in another, or you're in drama, or you're in dance, or you're in whatever co-curricular that you do, you combine with your student. What we find is that it causes both areas to excel. If we don't focus on the dynamic to have academic success, then we will not have athletic success. Because if you won't pay attention and do well in academics, why are we going to give you the chance to go out and compete at the highest level and think that you're going to, in the time of real adversity, you're going to come forward and do the right thing? So we, University of Memphis, or wherever I've been, is always focused that the student athlete, like in my current football coach, a guy named Mike Norvell. So my other football coach, a guy named Justin Fuente, who I hired, and then he went to Virginia Tech. Then I hired Mike Norvell just this last, well, he's now starting his third season, okay? Very, very talented, very, very incredibly talented coach, but more about a lead, and he's a leader, right? And so when he came in, he demanded that the quarterback have the highest GPA on the team. So our quarterbacks the last 2 seasons have had the highest GPA on the team. So these standards set in motion for a student athlete to understand that both pieces have to happen. We also don't let you play if you don't go to class. We don't, if you get an F, D, or a U, I take $500 out of your scholarship. And you get 2 of them, I call your mother, your guardian, or your uncle, or somebody and say, hey, your knucklehead son or daughter doesn't seem to understand, got to go to class, I ain't playing around. And then you fail, we send you home. And I take you to the bus station. And I put you on a bus. I don't put you on a plane. I put you on a bus. And it's the old saying about, and it's my background theology, the old saying about the Israelites would walk around the desert for 40 years and have to make several sacrifices to keep them in line. Same thing with the student athlete population. There are those ugly ducklings that never change that we have to put on a bus and send home.
I guess my question though is what would you recommend in how to fit it into their activities, into their schedule so they can maximize their engagement? Because I know they have to spend that time.
Right.
But if they're going to have such a high standard of GPA,
Yep.
they can spend as much time as
Right.
as training.
They do.
So how
They,
do we get them to engage in that?
in ODK, this athletic director will start making it more mandatory. Watch and see. In 2020, there'll be a couple of Memphis tables here, I guarantee you. I don't like getting beat. Go Tigers. We will not be underrepresented next time. It will be Tiger Nation in here, trust me. You don't know me very well. Dr. Singer does. He knows I will not be represented. We will be in here in droves. Yes, sir.
So what do you do to foster a culture outside of leadership and athletics, leadership in the community and leadership? There's plenty of stories in athletics,
Sure.
NFL, MLB, whatever that's out there. The people that are involved in the community, they're donating, they're doing community service, that type of thing. But there's also the negative stories that you don't want to hear if you're constantly in the news. How do you, in your program, promote community involvement and leadership outside of athletics?
We do. So, great question. So, community service is part of what we do. All my student athletes participate in community service. In Memphis, I'm lucky to have St. Jude's Children's Hospital, and then we have Le Bonheur, and then we have a bunch of Jubilee charter schools, which in Tennessee, and by the way, welcome to Tennessee. It's an amazing state. And in the West Tennessee, there are what called, I don't know if they're here too in Nashville, but in my city, there are what called Jubilee schools. And they're charter schools for inner city is kind of the wrong word, economic level, economic challenged families and pieces like that. So my student athletes get real active in grade schools and in children's hospitals and community and some of the stuff we do in Boys and Girls Club and with some of the elderly. The NCAA prevents me from getting active in high schools. Like I'm not allowed to go to a high school and get active or use my student nights to get active. It's considered undue influence for recruiting. So most of our community service centers really around the elderly and then around the young and educationally. And we have a profound effect in a grade school when I walk in with two men that are 330 pounds, about 6'8", 6'9", and a little first grader they're just, it's like seeing Hulk. And they can't wait, and they want their picture. And so, and we also do a ticket outreach. When I got to University of Memphis, our stadium, Liberty Bowl, holds 62,000. Remember I told you I had 2,000 season ticket holders. So I got 58,000 empty seats. Not good. So we used to go out to all the grade schools, Jubilee schools, the Children's Hospital, anybody, and we'd give tickets. So we started a program with kids. And so now, as we're up to about 31,000 season ticket holders, and we're just having this tremendous success. The stadiums are getting fuller and fuller because we haven't stopped the community outreach with our kids. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that's what we do. And my student athletes volunteer. Nobody's forced to do community service. It's what they want to do. We just provide all the access and programs and transportation.
Do you emphasize the leadership outside of it a lot?
We do. And what I'm doing right now is we started a job placement program in Memphis to try to get my student athletes hired once they graduate. Because a lot of them want to stay in Memphis. And so that's been real good too. Yes, ma'am.
You said you have, obviously, like ex-student athletes.
Mm-hmm.
How do you develop personal relationships with them?
Sure. So we have a whole support system, right? So we work with, we have counselors. But my office is, so I'm the leader they see. I speak to them. I sign every national letter of intent. I sign every scholarship. Your agreement with me in scholarship is me and you. And so it immediately changes the dynamic because it's not you and the coach that sign the scholarship, it's me. And I've done that everywhere I've been, and it's had a profound effect on the student athlete because it's really me and that's giving you the scholarship. And so immediately it creates remember about trust, right? Trust is an emotion and then it becomes a behavior. So trust, it's an emotional feeling. Either I trust you or I don't. Either you trust people or you don't, right? And that's an emotional feeling. And eventually, as the trust becomes apparent, it becomes a behavior. So for us, it's about establishing that emotional beginning of trust. And then they know that my office is open. You can come. Now, you can't come to my office and complain you're not playing. I know, I'm not the play guy. I'm not in charge of participation. But I am the guy you come to if you're having issues in academics, if we have all kinds of policies about, I'll give you an example. So a university professor decides that and I have a rifle team. I have 11 young men and women that are sharpshooters that are my kids. They're great to have around. And they're getting hired by NSA and the military. But we have a rifle team. And in the South, rifle's a very big sport in high school. So I had a rifle student athlete who had to go shoot with the NCAA qualifying, missed a test, and a professor failed her. And she was devastated, just devastated. And we have a policy, right? So you got to come to me for that. I mean, but there are other things you can go to, like the bursar's office for your. I don't give out aid checks, but I'm the guy you come to with. If it's a macro problem, you come see me. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
So a lot of these things that you're talking about really work when everyone's all in.
Yeah.
And so how do you deal with it with someone in your culture, someone on your team, say the right things, going through the motions, but they're not all in?
Okay, so that's a great question. So what happens is, as the culture comes to play, it's everybody's that's all in creates the dynamic of accountability. Remember, you are your brother's keeper, you are your sister's keeper. So I don't have to be the hammer. I'm the velvet hammer. It's usually my other student athletes going, "Hey, man, we're not doing that. You know, you're out Friday night here in this inappropriate situation. We're not going to do that." Now, I have student athletes who seem to believe that they are invincible or they are truly knuckleheads, and we send them home. Done. There's zero. So I know you guys think there might be these rules where guys get third and fourth chances, and golly gee, he's the best basketball player, so we're not going to punish him. But at my place, we have zero tolerance. You have zero tolerance for a mistake. You make a mistake, you're done. We send you home. because I got a scholarship that another kid, male or female, may want to have the opportunity, that understands that this is the accountability factor in what we do. So, and I would tell you, majority of my colleagues are the same way. Now, the media will play and say, this university did this with these athletes who are really bad citizens. And that does happen, and they do exist. And I have had bad citizens in my university who I have taken and sent home. Done. So, our position is that it's not a right to be a student athlete. It's not a right to have a scholarship. It's a privilege. I renew them every year. So every year as a student athlete, you have to go through the process of getting your scholarship renewed from me. So if you have been anything but a great Tiger, you are not going to keep wearing our colors. Now, there are schools that will take you. I cannot mention them because they are my enemies, and I am not allowed to talk about my enemies. But I will tell you, there are guys and gals who are knuckleheads who get to go play at Knucklehead U. And Knucklehead U wins a few, loses a few, and becomes a story in the front page of the Wall Street Journal. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not super familiar with the hierarchy of the athletic department,
Sure.
but I would assume that you have leading coaches or other
I do.
people in your role.
I do.
How do you handle leading other people?
Well, so we create trust is probably the most valuable thing that you have. And so how do I trust you? I trust you in two things. I trust you by your behavior, and I trust you by what you say. Words have meaning. Intentions matter, right? So if you're going to build trust with another human being, it's going to be by what you do and what you say. Also, if you're going to destroy trust with another human being, it's either going to be by what you did and didn't say, or what you didn't say or shouldn't have said or shouldn't have done. Fair? Fair? So you deal with head coaches, and some of my guys have become millionaires. As you know, in my business, so 16 years ago, there weren't very many millionaires. Now it looks like everybody coaching anything's a millionaire. So you have this dynamic of people that are well-to-do in financial entitlement, yet at the same time, the responsibility is still amateur athletics. So our ability is to say what we mean and to stay on policy of what we mean about what we say. So I don't care if the coach is the most revered, loved icon in the city. These are the policies in which we work with our student athletes. Most coaches I have dealt with, because I've hired most of my coaches, come in with the premise already understanding that this is the box we're going to be in. The problem I have at University of Memphis is I lose my coaches all the time because other universities want to take them, pay them more money, and you guys know the difference between autonomy, right? There's 130 schools, 65 are autonomy. I saw some autonomy schools in here, and then 65 are group of 5 in FBS football. So 130 schools play highest level Division I. So that's the cycle, and so I lose a lot of my coaches. So anyway, yes, ma'am.
So it looks like you have a huge population of student athletes
I
at
do.
the university. Do you notice a divide between student athletes and non-student athletes, and how do you
No.
cope with that?
No. We make them all come together. We sponsor fun events for all students to come to. We do things for students to come to. We thank our students for being in the student section. When I first got into collegiate athletics, it became apparent to me that students become very unflattering and don't like student athletes who seem to be entitled and kind of pompous about what they have and what they don't have. Because my student athletes have a lot of things different than a student would have. There's no question. So we've been really, really conscious of it, and everywhere I've been, I've done that, and it's been good. Now, we still have students that complain about the fact student athletes get their meals taken care of, and a regular student doesn't unless he's got a meal plan. But then we'll throw a barbecue and feed guys, and it seems to quiet down for a while. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. You, right there.
My understanding of it is that part of what we see are seeing out challenges and inequities that are systemic. I'm curious if you had opportunities to address inequity, particularly in programs geared towards male.
Correct. The inequity of minority opportunities, minority female opportunities in leadership are very apparent in my industry. The last 5 years has been a complete culture change. There have been more women athletic directors hired at Division I in the last year and a half than there have been in 25. There have been more opportunities for minority male, minority female to get in positions of leadership, to become deputies, associates, senior associate ADs, and that trend is not going to stop because of the dynamic of what our population has become and what we're trying to do. So It is a NCAA initiative. It is something being done at the highest level with the presidents of all universities. It's something that's being done in Division I, and I would imagine will continue over the next 5 to 6 years for sure. Yes, sir.
Everyone operates under authority. How do you be calm with those folks?
Well, we keep them real informed. Talk to them a lot. No hiccups, no hiccups. I report directly to the president. I've had 7 presidents in my career. I'm on my 3rd president at Memphis. I had 4 presidents at San Jose State. Presidents are all unique, and and you all know if you deal with presidents at your universities, it's a very, very, very complex job. And presidents tend to rotate because of the complexities of what happens. And so my job is to make sure the president feels a part of it. He gets invited to everything. He's allowed to engage with our student athletes. And my current president, Dr. M. David Rudd, is an amazing guy and does amazing things and comes. And he's a former football player from the Ivy League at Princeton, so he's had a student athlete experience. And so those are the best moments for me. My other vice presidents who also get, kind of can get sideways with you, you got to keep them involved. You got to make sure they got great seats, great ticket, free parking, good swag, nice hat. We go to a bowl game, they get bowl stuff. I'm real good at making sure people feel loved from the athletic department. that's kind of how it works, right? So anyway, anybody else? Well, I want to thank you. God bless. Go Tigers. Go DK.